Welcome to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, where we talk all things good food, good business, and good cars. And now, here is your host, Arnold Gacita, founder and CEO of Petra Automotive Products. Let's roll.
I am excited, as you guys know, that I got Troy Duhon on the show, one of the first shows we're doing, and he graciously said he would be on it, so we're excited to get to know Troy a little bit better. Troy, thank you for being with us.
And you get to come to New Orleans.
And I get to come to New Orleans, and
I
get to eat.
You're in the French Quarter. You're outside Bourbon Street. You're with the famous people now.
I'm with you. That's right. I get treated like this when I'm with you, you know? Hey, so look, one of the things that we're doing in this podcast is we want to talk about fun stuff first. Okay. I was asked to do this podcast about a year ago, and I kept refusing. I finally said, okay, one, because I love food. And I said, we're going to do it my way.
Oh, we can tell you love food.
Thank you, buddy. So anyway, we want to talk about fun stuff before we get into business, right? Okay, You're a great businessman, but we want to know a little bit more about you personally. Of all the places you've traveled, everywhere you've gone in the world, what's your favorite?
Oh, I've been around the world.
No, that's what I'm asking. Tell us.
You know, Bali, Indonesia. Really? Yeah, it's a long flight. It was 30 hours in a plane. But it's one of the few places I would go back.
What's so special about it?
The water's unbelievable. The way they serve you. The actual Four Seasons hotel we stayed at, each suite is in the mountain. So you actually have your own private pool. You have your own private butler. You have a train that will take you down to your own private beach. So you order your food through your butler. He brings you your breakfast. You have massages in your room. You have your own private pool. You can skinny dip, do anything you want. And then you go down to a beach, and it was crazy. It was like you thought you and Adam, you know, it was so serene. And for me and Tracy at the time, is what we needed. A lot of times when you go to certain places, is it what you really need? But I'd never been to Bali. And of course, like I said, it's a long flight, but it was worth it.
Water's beautiful.
Unbelievable. The scuba diving, the snorkeling, the fishing, it was just...
So you never really left that area, kind of room, beach.
But they also had another private beach that was a little bit more, let's call it youthful, a little bit less bathing suit, right? So you could go to that private beach if you wanted to too. So
I'm very scared of going to a beach with you right now.
But it was
skinny dipping, youthful, less clothes.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing about it, if you're thinking of a honeymoon or you want to renew your vows, or just you and your wife need to reconnect, that's the place. Now again, like I said, it's a long flight to get to.
And it's away from everybody.
It's away from everybody, and they're so happy you're there. The service, and like I said, I've been, you name it, I've been there. I've been to Dubai, I've been to Abu Dhabi. This place was unbelievable. The Four Seasons in Bali.
Great. That's good. All right, what's your favorite type of food?
Duh, I'm in New Orleans. It's seafood.
Seafood.
So before I got in the car business, I worked in high-end restaurants like this. So the restaurant you're in, Broussard, is a very old, famous restaurant. A lot of mafia deals were done here. I mean, this place was
historical.
Famous. This place was famous. So in high school, I worked in high-end restaurants. Actually, I worked for La Route's, which was the only 5-star restaurant to ever come out of New Orleans. So you think of Emeralds and Commanders and Brennan's, none of them have been 5-star, only La Route's. So when I worked in La Route's, I learned to appreciate food that had spice. So you think about what we're known for, black and red fish, crawfish etouffee. I love all that, but I like a lot of spice. And of course in Louisiana, we put a lot of cream on everything. So you have a cream sauce and a white wine sauce. But the thing is, when you bite into that black and red fish and it bites back.
That flavor.
You're like, your mouth catches on fire. So being in New Orleans, being around seafood, being around some of the greatest chefs in the country, because a lot of them come here to train, calories are no object. We don't care about your health. We don't care about your heart. We just gonna feed you rich. So I love rich seafood.
You know, and for people that have never been to New Orleans, that is so true, because you can get a blackened whatever, let's say snapper, but it's not just a blackened snapper. It's the sauce, the crawfish, the shrimp, the crab meat on top of it.
Yep.
Right? It's not just a blackened fish. It's like this whole orchestra of things that when it touches your mouth, blackened oysters.
Yes.
You know, it's so
Charbroiled
good.
oysters, when they cook them on the open fire.
What's that place we went to one time that you got that appetizer?
Drago's?
Drago's.
Yeah, Drago's. Great family.
Yeah.
They actually own their own oyster beds
Okay.
because you want to protect the salinity and the quality of the oyster. And then when you put it on the open fire, it cooks with the lemon and the butter and the garlic.
No, those oysters. It was funny that night, just to give you guys a little side thing here, Troy and I and some friends are eating at this restaurant, and he orders a dozen of these charbroiled oysters.
Charbroiled oysters, yeah.
And we think he's ordering it for appetizer. I mean, the waitress comes, he immediately orders it. We think it's an appetizer for all. And then he tells us, what are you guys getting? Because that's mine.
That's right.
So we literally had to order something else because that was for him. Delicious. And the bread that they gave you that you soaked in the,
Yeah, you soaked
in
the
the
bread.
butter. Oh,
Yeah.
man. It was
And again,
great.
you don't count calories when you come to New Orleans.
No, I don't count calories regardless. So
This
this
is,
is bad.
people say, how is the food in New Orleans? I say it's the closest thing you're going to have before you go to heaven.
Good. That's good. I guess Houston might be second then.
Well,
Houston
if you
has
like
some pretty good
Tex-Mex,
food. Yeah,
if you like the Mexican side.
I think a lot of influence from New Orleans has gone to Houston. The restaurants have changed, but I think it's a lot of influence from New Orleans.
Well, because more and more people want that seasoning. They want that bite. Emerald's called Bam, right?
Right.
Well, way before him, it was always Paul Poudon. It was black and redfish. You would bite into it and you'd be like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's not just fish.
Oh, it bit back. So people get it, and the salt and the pepper and the cayenne and of course a lot of things we put on food. We're just not afraid. We don't count. Like I said, we don't count calories here.
Yeah. I know we're at a special place, but what is your favorite restaurant?
Actually, believe it or not, Broussard's is one of my favorite. My wife loves Commanders. I'm blessed because Emerald was my next door neighbor. So when I would go into Emerald's restaurant, I get treated like, oh, that's Emerald's neighbor.
That's my neighbor.
So I sometimes actually ate in the kitchen. So Emerald sometimes would put me in the private kitchen, and in the kitchen, you don't order. As a matter of fact, you need to fast at least one day before you go to the kitchen.
Okay.
So they're going to serve you like 7 different smaller portions of entrees. So you get a smorgasbord of everything, between the gumbo and the duck and the fish. So for me, it's always been Emerald's because of my relationship.
We got to do that next time.
There you go.
That sounds good. That sounds good. All right, so this is one of your favorite restaurants. What's one of your favorite dishes here?
Actually, he does do a black and redfish here. I'm a big redfish guy because, again, redfish isn't like tilapia.
No,
it's
I
not
love
like
redfish.
grouper. It's not like snapper. The thing about redfish, it has a texture that allows you to blacken it, and then you can make it as hot as you want. Then, to level it out, you would take like a heavy whipping cream. You'd saute some shrimp and crab meat with a lot of lemon, a lot of butter, a lot of garlic. And then you would saute and simmer it for about 5 to 7 minutes. So then you got that redfish. And then the cool thing about the redfish is they don't do it here. Not too many restaurants do it. They do it on an open grill where you leave one side and you leave the skin on. So you're barbecuing the fish.
Half shell.
Half shell.
Yeah.
And then you take that sauce and you just pour it on top.
Yeah.
So when it's like 2 tastes. One sweet and then one bites. So your mouth's on fire. It's like having a party in your mouth.
I feel like the next show should be Cooking with Troy. It should be Cooking
Well, like
with
I
Troy.
said,
Troy's Kitchen. We're going to cook with Troy today.
Before I started selling cars, I was selling I learned the seafood business.
How long did you do that before you got into selling cars?
Well, the thing is,
You were in high school, right?
yeah, working in a high-end restaurant, they teach you how to address people, how to talk to people, how to serve people. I worked at a restaurant. We had to wear tuxedos and have our hair slicked back like little French kids. And we were on it. We served you like professionalism. So you learn how to treat people.
It's true. I think it's a very, we talk in the dealership business, automotive business, a lot about the consumer experience, right?
Yes.
Nobody's going to have a more fast, quick consumer experience in a restaurant.
And remember, the tip is based on how well you serve them.
That's right. Commission based.
It's all commission-based.
Commission-based.
That's how you get. So you got to bring your A game.
Very good, very good. Great, great. So let me ask you something. When you were growing up, a teenager working in these restaurants, has your taste buds changed through life? I'll give you an example. When I was growing up, right, I'm Cuban. So I always ate Cuban food. Cuban food was my favorite food. But as I grew, I like Tex-Mex. And I like Creole. I like the black and red snapper or redfish. It's changed. Did yours change, or you always were a seafood guy?
No, I was always a seafood guy. However, I didn't appreciate what seasoning could do to something. So as a kid, you don't want nothing hot. You're like, oh, that's too hot. That's too hot. As you get older,
Usually
bring it.
fried catfish.
Bring it. So I have learned to appreciate the spiciness of the topping. So whether you put topping on a fish, topping on a piece of steak, topping on a chicken, I've learned to appreciate the preparation of the topping with a bite. So I'm a seasoning guy. So if you come and I cook for you, your mouth's gonna be on fire. But you're gonna love it. You're gonna be like, wow.
Do you cook?
Oh, I cook. What, you think my wife married me because I'm good looking? No, she married me.
I know she didn't marry you because you were good looking.
She married me
You
because
knew how to talk though.
I can talk, but I do know how to cook.
All right, good. Well, great. Well, look, let's talk a little bit about this restaurant. So we're going to invite the owner and the executive chef to join us, and we'll talk a little bit more about food. Joining us now is Marv Amari. He is the CEO of Creole Cuisine, who owns several restaurants. What are those restaurants?
Well, we have several in the French Quarter and outside of the metro. Multiple brands. We have actually few that are duplicates, but it's a bunch of different concepts. We have all-American, Italian, Creole concepts. We have some sandwich shops, fast food restaurants. So it's multiple ones. It'll be tough to kind of.
I need you to meet a guy in Houston named Joe Garza, who is exactly what you're saying. So you guys would hit it off in Houston. He's like your version in Houston.
Well, the thing is with us, I come across that a lot. We don't really live by numbers of restaurants and volume and all that stuff. We kind of keep it low profile for us, and it just sends bad stuff away.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a struggle when you
keep
go in.
Keeps you humble. I get it.
You know,
it's good.
But
and then the restaurant that we're eating at today, where are we at today? Tell us about this.
so
place.
Broussard is a very special place. There's just been a lot of history, and I know Troy loves coming here.
Yeah. He gave us a little bit of that history too.
Kick that question
So how to Jimmy?
to Chef
All right.
Jimmy.
We also
because
have Chef Jimmy here with us as well. Jimmy's the executive chef. So tell us a little bit about this restaurant and the history of this place.
So Broussard's was originally part of the Borello family mansion, which is where Broussard's is now, in the Herman Grima historic landmark across the wall behind us. It was all one property pre-Civil War. After the Civil War, it started to get broken up into smaller pieces. The Borello's eldest daughter was named Rosalie, and she fell in love and married a New Orleans chef named Joseph Broussard. And actually this part where we are now was kind of their wedding present, was their dowry at the time. So they took this over. They lived upstairs in an apartment that's now our office. They renovated a little bit at the time and ran a really small kind of bar and elegant French restaurant. Joseph Broussard had studied culinary arts in France, loved it, loved French food, loved all things Napoleonic, all things New Orleans. And so they built this kind of classic New Orleans brand until the mid-'60s when they both passed away. And they passed away within a few months of each other. At that point, it was left to their longtime steward, who didn't know a ton about restaurants, so he involved the Marcello family, who were a prominent restaurant family. They ran it till the mid-'80s, and an Alsatian chef named Gunter Preuss took it over. And then in 2008, Creole Cuisine was offered the opportunity to purchase it and to get involved. And really, as Marv said, purchased it, put a lot into it.
So how old is the place?
The building itself is about 150 years old.
Wow. French Quarter, 150 years old. You're pretty proud of that.
But there's an important name, he said, the Marcello
Marcello's
family.
There's
a lot of history there.
I was just gonna say, incredible history, just alone in this building.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's, we're in the center of the French Quarter, but it feels like we could be anywhere.
Really, with the Marcellos, not only that, you have history not only in the building, but the French Quarter in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's part of the overall history of the city. And you have owned it for how long?
in the city,
How long have you owned this restaurant?
about 8 years now.
8 years?
Yeah.
And how long have you been with them?
6.
6.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, he was talking earlier about how we got to make the employees happy, right?
Absolutely.
And then you come out and make the customers happy. Are you happy?
Absolutely. I love it. And it's,
You look happy. I'm saying that because you look
yeah,
happy.
and I am. I'm
And then he
passionate
talked to you about being love on wheels.
Aw. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about the food. I'm passionate about the guests. I have a great partner in crime in Rebecca Chapman, who's our area manager, who is just amazing with the guests. And I know you know Rebecca. But we kind of try to tag team it, because I can make the best food, in the world. I can make my favorite food. But if I can't relate it to the service staff and they can't relate it to the guest, or I can't come out and talk to the guest, then they're just getting food anywhere. Part of what we sell is the quality of the food, the quality of the wine, the cocktails, but it's really an experience. Right? It's not just coming for dinner.
So
coming
everything
for a
on the
date.
menu, how does that, do you create that? You and your team create those dishes? Is there somebody saying, hey, we should have this? Or you kind of wake up in the middle of the night and go, man, this would be fantastic?
It's a little bit of both. We are lucky enough to have a lot of the old and original menus, and they're fun to look back on. Fun to look back what they were serving in 1920 and 1930.
How often do you change a menu?
We change it 5 times a year. So
Really?
we do it with the seasons, and then Réveillon in New Orleans, the big French Catholic tradition, is celebrated by about 20, 25 different restaurants, and we do a full kind of holiday classic menu for the entire month of December. But our team gets together, we take some classic dishes and try to keep them classic. We try to take some New Orleans style food and make it a little bit lighter, or a little bit fresher, or using local ingredients. Obviously, we have tons of beautiful seafood in this city, and access
Right.
to amazing seafood. So our menu is heavy on the seafood, but one dish that we pride ourselves on is our bronze redfish. And it's really simple. It's Louisiana redfish. It's lightly seared, finished in the oven, a little bit of lemon, butter, and crab meat. And when you look back at these old menus, there's been redfish on the menu since day one here, just in slightly different preparations along the way.
Evolving.
Yeah. And, you asked about, do we do research and stuff? We really enjoy feedback from the guests. We love talking to them. If I'm making something that I'm excited about, but Troy's coming in to eat and he doesn't see anything that he's excited about, then we're not meeting up.
Right.
We want that interaction, whether it's sending an email, letting us
Like
know
buying
in
a car that
person.
nobody wants to buy.
That's right.
Yeah, right. You got a bunch of,
Or ordering a car to buy.
That's right. Ordering a car that nobody wants to buy.
and so it's
What's your favorite dish that you've created? What is like your favorite? This is my baby.
the bronze redfish is one of them. Probably our seared duck breast, which the vegetables on it kind of change year round, but we do a beautifully crispy skinned duck breast, cooked however you want it, anywhere from rare to well done. We recommend it medium rare, but we'll serve it with, we'll play with the sauce a little bit. In the winter, when there's tons of local citrus, we'll add some citrus components to it. For the summer, we'll add something lighter. For the fall, we'll add pecans or cane syrup. But that dish kind of stays the same. We just tweak it a little bit with each season, and that's I'm a big fan of use what you have, use local ingredients, and keep it playful and fun. And that way, somebody can come in, 5 times a year and get the duck 5 times a year and know what they're getting, but just a little twist each time.
Yeah, and it's fresh. What's your favorite dish here?
The bronze. The bronze is amazing because it's just a gorgeous, very tasty, and it sits on a bed of, again, the vegetables, the seasoned vegetables. It's just enough. I'm a kind of a light eater, Be in this business, you have to. you
You
don't
have
wanna
it
do
every day, all the time.
But it is, and I love the duck as well. The duck is just amazing. A lot of people could mess it up, but the duck is great. And again, I think the beauty about, to Chef's point, is that when the menu is changed, makes you interested to go back to see the new items and what they're cooking. It's not confusing because the main protein is there, and you know what are you gonna get. It's just the cool stuff that is just presenting the local stuff for that time that changes, so it keeps it interesting.
That's great. That's great. Marv told us earlier that he started when you were 16 or so, right? That's when you.
Yeah, I finished high school. I skipped a couple of years, not smart or anything like that. I'm a June birthday, so I finished at 16, and I had 2 places to go. My dad failed me because I wanted to be a pilot like him, so he must have cooked the books and said, you didn't make the cut. It's like, okay, I was devastated. He says, like, you could go to Ancona, Italy, which is northeast. My uncle was there at the time. and my dad took care of him, and he says, you go there to study or you go to New Orleans. So of course we visited back and forth Atlanta because on my mom's side, her brothers and her sister went to serve the church back in the 40s, and they just moved from Jordan, never came back. So we used to go back and forth. So anyhow, I came to New Orleans and I said, going to school. The problem was I didn't speak the language. I mean, we took English at school, but you just barely keep up. So I had to learn the language in the beginning, and then once I did that, went to Delgado, UNO, SUNO, and then finished up. So I was 19 when I got in business.
So 19 when you opened your first restaurant.
I was still in school, yeah. I opened my first one in St. Bernard Parish.
So just going back to that, that's a good job, but just going back to that history. So today, a 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kid that wants to open a restaurant, what are three pieces of advice that you would give him? And so if we had to narrow down to three, dream with plan, be patient, what would be the third? Opportunity?
Seek advice from the one in a business, from someone in a business that you're close to.
Find a mentor.
Find a mentor. What would you say in the dealership world? Somebody wants to get into this business today.
Well, social media has a lot to do with what we do now. Selling cars today is totally different than 10 years ago.
Than when you started.
So make sure you understand how to use that cell phone you're addicted to and all those TikTok videos you watch all day. Become a video marketer and use the car as the star. So the beautiful thing is let the car be the star, but use that same channel of distribution to brand you.
So if you wanted to get into this business today, you start off by maybe selling cars, right? But you got to know social media.
Have to.
You have to know how to show off the car.
Car
and get
needs
it
to be
out
the
in
star.
Social media.
Yep.
You told me you also started. You didn't go down to culinary school.
No.
You grew through the ranks in restaurants.
Yep.
What would be three things that you would tell somebody that says, "Man, I want to be an executive chef one day"? What would be the three things you'd tell them?
Be passionate, be excited about it. There's a kind of a mantra that a mentor of mine taught me that was every day, be a student, be a teacher, be a cook. So every day go in looking to learn something, whether it's a new recipe, how to cut something, how to make a soup better. Go in looking to teach somebody something, whether it's the guy next to you working on the line, one of your sous chefs, one of your cooks, whatever it is, teach somebody something that you know so that knowledge keeps spreading. And cook something every day. Because, as you move up, you do a little bit less cooking every time. And you get a little bit more involved in the business side of it. But everybody gets into this business, most everybody gets into this business because they're passionate about food. So keep yourself passionate about that. Cook something, whether it's, making a steak at the restaurant, whether it's making a awesome sandwich when you get home from work, or growing yourself a garden and making a salad out of it. Be passionate about it. Cook something every single day so that you don't lose that passion.
I like that. Well, Marv and Jimmy, thank you for letting us be here. We appreciate
Absolutely.
it. All right, so Troy, we're back with Troy. Let's talk some business real quick before we leave. Before I talk about business, there's something I want to ask you, which is part of our show. What's your favorite car?
Oh, that's a good question.
All-time favorite car. Troy's favorite car.
Actually, it's a Nissan GTR.
Really?
So I have like number 20 built, but mine's modified. So mine's 710 horsepower. And the GTR is all wheels turn. So this is a pocket rocket. So think of 710 horsepower on a car that weighs about
turns on a dime.
3,500 pounds. And it moves like a rocket, like a...
Do you take it out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How
Yeah.
often?
Well, unfortunately, I've gotten crazy a couple times, so my wife's like, when you hit the highway at 150, 160, that ain't good.
Right. Too many people depend on you, man.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about business. When you got into this business, totally different world than today.
Yeah.
So let's go back real quick. How did you get into this business?
Well, obviously, my daddy was in the business, and my father, unfortunately, became an alcoholic and was in the car business. Got out of this is a crazy story, got out of the car business and of all things became a preacher. So now I'm raised in a born-again preacher's house.
Yeah, not just any preacher.
Yeah. But as a kid, you look at where you're at today in life, and you can always track it back to what did I do, what affected me, what influenced me as a kid. My dad would come home with those crazy demos. And he had a Hellcat, well back then it was called a Roadrunner, and a Magnum, and a Chevelle. I mean, like, you'd be enamored with these cars. So when I turned 18, he got me a job selling cars. And literally, I loved it. So I ended up going to college, went to LSU, but every semester break, whether it was Christmas or summer, I sold cars. And I fell in love with the business.
How good were you at selling cars? How good were you at selling cars?
Actually, my first month, I was $7 a month. I would tell people, listen, I'm going to college, so by buying a car, you're helping fund my education. And they bought it.
Good. Emotional tie.
Yep. So that's how I ended up paying for school. So I was too proud to ask my dad to pay for my college.
Okay, so you're working for your dad. You're a salesman.
Well, he's out of the business. I'm working for a friend of his.
Okay, so you're working for a friend of his. He's now out of the business, became a preacher. How long were you a salesman before you moved to the next position?
Actually, when I graduated from college, I got offered to be that manager. So at 21 years old, I then became a manager.
Sales manager.
And did a really good job. So I kind of built an early name for myself. Because back then in the 80s, you still had that stigma of car salesmen as the plaid coat, the white patent shoes, the cigar smoke. And then I came in with a whole new culture of younger 20-year-old salesmen, full of vigor, full of prep. And we were very successful. So in my mid-20s, we ended up taking one store number 9 in the country. So I excelled because I changed the culture and put a lot of energy around me.
Successful business people that we hang around with all the time, phenomenal people, great people, good-hearted people. I think sometimes we forget, because it's our normal day, right? We forget how blessed we are. And so I want you to talk a little bit, because I believe every successful business person should either go on a mission trip or go on one of these orphanage trips to bring them back to the reality of the world. I know that when I went to Brazil, and my middle son, Andrew, went to Brazil, I mean, we walked the street and I was crying because I couldn't believe what I was seeing and what I was hearing, and it changes you. I mean, if you go to one of those trips and you're not changed, I don't know what's wrong with your heart, right? So do you agree that sometimes in our successful world, successful people, once in a while need a trip like that?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I tell people all the time, the greatest thing you can do to your children is take them overseas. Don't take them to Disneyland. Don't take them to Hollywood. Don't take them to the beach. Take them overseas and watch the culture change in their eyes and their mind, because they don't know how people live. They think everyone has a debit card, an iPhone, and a car. And it's not real. When my son went to India, he had tears in his eyes. He saw 3-year-old kids running on the street by themselves. And he goes, Daddy, I never knew people lived like this. And he said, Daddy, you may be dead and gone. I will guarantee you this will continue. So for me, that's all I needed to hear. I think parents need to realize that they need to expose their kids, whether they go serve at a food bank, whether they go serve at a soup kitchen, whether they go to Children's Hospital, or if you can and you have the ability to go overseas, go overseas. It will be the life-changing experience that every child needs.
100%. I agree with that completely. I hope more and more people not only give, but physically go, because it will change your life.
It's easy to write a check.
It is.
But are you willing to take the time to change?
And put yourself in that element.
And let your children go with you so they can see what the real world is.
For sure. Which will make them a better person. And then it gives them that cause, that why.
It shows them a why.
It gives them the why. So if people want to help Giving Hope, what do they do?
If I would tell people, GivingHopeNOLA.org is our site. GivingHopeNOLA.org. The thing I would inspire people to do is, after they watch this program, is look at their local community. Not every nonprofit needs money. Sometimes they just need you to volunteer. Because when you volunteer, you become an ambassador for that local cause. And again, it could be a children's hospital, it could be a homeless shelter, it could be a Down syndrome facility for kids, or it could just be a food bank, just to serve people. I wouldn't say, if you contact us, we'll help you find a local. Does it have to be Giving Hope? We'd just like to see you volunteer. The greatest joy you will have with your family is to take a day and volunteer as a family.
Yeah, great way to end it. Troy, thank you for being here. Appreciate you, brother.
Love you too.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, your main source for all things good and fun, business, food, and cars. If you like this episode, make sure to rate us and subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please leave a message at the link below. Till next time, happy eating!